for me to refuse to live the life that God's given me, for me to refuse to be the person that God's created me to be a shadow of someone else is not only codependent and super unhealthy, but it actually flies in the face of creation itself. So today I want to talk about how the popular Christian notion of laying down your life for your friends, considering your spouse your closest friend, could actually ruin your marriage. Yeah, and if you don't get this and understand this deeply, you can actually set your marriage up to fail. So, yeah, let's talk about that for a second. I remember years ago, I was in a store and I was buying dish towels, and it's just something small. And I was learning all this stuff about submission, and I wanted to be a good wife. I wanted to love the Lord like crazy. And, I thought that, being a good wife was one of the ways to do that. So I went to my husband and I'm like, oh, I got a submission moment and I'm going to, respect his opinion. So I went up to him and I said, I can't decide. I don't know if I like these dish towels or these dish towels. What do you think? And he looks at me and he goes, Nina, I married a woman who could make a decision. Where did she go? He was, he's like, no. Yeah. And I did way too much of that. And God love him. We're still married. But part of this has to do with this concept, and it is biblical, to serve and to be sacrificial and to be unselfish, absolutely. But we are not called to lay down our lives the way that Christ did. And what that means is that for me to refuse to live the life that God's given me, for me to refuse to be the person that God's created me to be a shadow of someone else is not only codependent and super unhealthy, but it actually flies in the face of creation itself. And if you look at relationships and how they are healthy and how they're not, you see a lot of spaces where people give up things that they love doing. They give up pieces of themselves until there is nothing left. And the unfortunate piece of that is, I think of homeschoolers. Okay. And I did this. My husband and I homeschooled our kids all through kindergarten, high school, all of it. All of them got into colleges. All of them, did great on their ACT. So the thing I run into with coaching, though, is that a lot of people, and you don't have to be a homeschooler to do this, but I think it's pretty intense and I can relate to it because I've done it. But you spend a lot of time with these kids, right? You are researching the best curriculums. You are spending time every single day during the school year educating them. It's a big responsibility, and you're responsible for their education. It's something you don't want to mess up. So there's a lot of importance around this particular skill or thing you're doing. Even if you're not skilled, you're hiring someone, you're finding teachers, you're doing co-ops, you're driving your kids. So you spend as an adult, as a parent, you spend a ton of time in this career of educator for these people, and then they graduate. And whether you've invested time personally homeschooling your kids or whether you've been really involved with your kids when they were home, if you get your identity from who your kids are and the lives that they're leading and your involvement in that, you have a train wreck when they leave. I see this all the time. It's like, and it goes by so fast, right? I mean, suddenly, boom, it's over. And what we don't realize is that we are individuals. We are fearfully and wonderfully made by the Creator, all of us. We have the Holy Spirit within us, and there's a plan and a purpose for each of us as individuals. I had a Christian author write, well, I didn't have him write. I read something that this person had written eons ago when I was early in my marriage about how a wife is really supposed to be a shadow of her husband and that she's to lay down her life to serve him. And I'm not going to say that I didn't do a bunch of homemaking and I quit a fabulous full-time career that I had as a human resources director, and I went part-time as a trainer. But I've been working since I was a child. When I was 13, my dad owned a business, and because I was the daughter of a business owner, the law was different back then. And maybe it still is, but if you're 13, you could actually be employed. So I've been working since I was 13 years old, either full or part time. And it's just part of what I am, what I do, who I am. I love the productivity piece of it. I'm wired to work. And so even when we had kids, I would take 5, 6 months off, and then I'd go back part time. And, I worked the entire time my kids were in school and younger. And I felt led by God to homeschool and to work at the same time. And then it was crazy busy. And I took care of myself and I had hobbies. And I had to be really careful about the decisions about how I spent my time. But the point is that we are wired with certain tastes. The Bible talks about train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he won't depart from it. And that in the way he should go thing is if you go to the original language, it's about according to their palate. So it's how they're wired, how God created them. So you train up your kid in the way that they're already naturally bent, and you spend a lot of time trying to figure out, what is that? Are you interested in art? Is it music? Is it math? Is it sports? Is it, are you caring for other people? Are you nurturing? Are you driven? Are you, who are you, right? And then you invest time and money in helping them go be that person. But if you get your identity in all of that, you're really getting your identity from helping somebody else figure out who they are. And think about that when they leave. Wow, right? And so sometimes we don't even have kids yet, right? Or right now we're in an empty nest or something, and we're going, oh, who am I again? Or who am I now? And it's really easy to get wrapped up in somebody else's stuff, in somebody else's creation. And I assure you, there is nothing biblical about being a shadow. There's nothing biblical about not being an individual and a person. Oneness, yeah, that's a thing. That's a whole separate podcast. But the point is that one of the worst things that you can do in your relationships is get your identity from who somebody else is and helping them be who they are. Because one day you will wake up and realize that the world, God, people around you are missing out. And so are you, because you are not who you were supposed to be. And guess what? There's still time. So where there's breath, there's hope. And so from here forward, you can choose to step into how you're created. You can listen to the Holy Spirit and ask God, who am I? Who did you make me to be? And can you reveal that to me? Because he loves you and he thinks you're pretty cool and you're one of his favorite things that he's made. So anyway, thanks so much.